The mission of VetBizTV is to highlight, honor, showcase, and support military veterans, veteran-owned businesses, veteran nonprofits, and veteran spouses, all doing great things in business and the community. Tune in to another great episode of VetBizTV. This episode is brought to you by 3UP Metalworks, your custom metal fabricating specialist. Visit 3upmetalworks.com. Today's guest is Matt McDonell. Since exiting the military, Matt has owned a successful lawn and snow company and earned several college degrees. He is the founder and executive director of Next 18. They provide transformational mental health resources and holistic life resource training to military veterans and first responders. Matt lives in Wisconsin and served in the U.S. Army as an airborne infantryman with the 173rd IBCT, was stationed mainly in Germany, and deployed to Afghanistan multiple times. Well, thanks for joining us today, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. What is the Next 18, and what is your mission of your organization? What do you guys do?
So at its core, Next 18 is a mental health nonprofit. The sport of golf is the modality that we use, 3 and 4 day golf camps, to provide to our participants, which are vets and first responders, resources that I've noticed have been lacking in the communities. Moral injury, mindfulness, PTSD, symptom management, meditation, yoga, resilience training, breath work. These resources that some have a long track record, some are becoming more noticeable, like moral injury and getting more attention. And these resources are provided over the course of our camps to help our participants understand that there may be some things that have happened both while they were deployed in the military, on active duty, and as firefighters, police officers, EMT workers, that are just unique situations, different than what the average civilian may encounter in their jobs. And through the sport of golf, each day our participants get two hours of lessons from local PGA pros, 18 holes of golf in a scramble format, and about 2 to 3 hours of mental health training. We incorporate the game of golf, which has a lot of mindfulness, being in the moment, breathing exercises for your pre-shot routine. We incorporate the mental health and the golf together so that throughout the course of the day, while you're at the golf course for 8 to 10 hours, you're getting little tidbits of these training and these exercises.
Sure. So explain to me how you thought of the golf thing, matching it up with the breathing and all those sorts of things, because you could have chose anything, right? How did golf come into play with all of this?
So I've been playing golf since I was like 6 years old. Golf has always been a pastime of mine, a hobby, a thing that I really enjoyed. I didn't know the value of it when I was younger, other than it was just this game that allowed me to excel in high school and go to college and walk on to a team. And when I was in the military for 5 years, and then the immediacy when I got out for those 4 or 5 years, I didn't touch a club for about 9 years. I think you probably understand the veteran mentality of, I get out of service and I don't want to deal with the things that I've gone through, so I load my plate with everything, and before you know it, all of your hobbies disappear. All you're doing is working or doing whatever to stay busy. And when I sold a business prior to this, all I wanted to do was get back to something that I enjoyed. I was dealing with a really tough time coming off of some medications from some mismanagement with the local VA. And all I did was took a job at a country club at a local course in Milwaukee, literally played like 120 rounds of golf over 2020, and started attending, have you heard of Semper Fi Fund?
Yep.
So I went on one of their retreats. It was golf camp. And Semper Fi Fund, they know I love them. They know I love them. Their mission.
Even though you're Army?
Yeah. off track, the Marine organizations that I've attended, the Marines have been the most beneficial organization post-military. But going back to Semper Fi Fund, their model for this adaptive sports is recovery through sport. And what I was watching was, this camp is giving 20 veterans a chance to play golf and interact. But where I thought they were missing the mark was just the fact that there were no resources being given out. And again, their model is this, our model is this. So I watched the camps and I said to myself, this would be really cool to reenact, but let's make mental health centric. The golf is going to get you to come.
Yep.
But when you leave, we're going to give you maybe 5 or 6 different resources that now you have like a Swiss Army knife of resources for when you go home to tackle things that may have been causing issues for you.
Interesting. So do you have to be a good golfer to, be a part of your organization or go to any of these events for therapy?
We can take anyone that fits the criteria of a veteran or first responder. We have access to mobility chairs for people that are paralyzed with waist injuries, waist or below. These chairs will enable them to be upright and they can swing a club. If you've never golfed before, first of all, we can get you clubs at the course to use, rental sets. The pros know how to teach people. This is what they do for a living. And we also recently have started reaching out to some of the country clubs in the area and asking private courses if they have golf clubs that they can donate, like members. My grandpa had 4 sets of clubs in his basement. They're just sitting there. So people have been donating those to us, and then we give them to vets and first responders so that now they have a set of clubs. They may not be top-notch brand new clubs, but at least this enables them, once the camps are done, to go out. So really we're open to anyone that fits those 2 criteria.
Okay. So is this a continuous thing that, they have to keep coming back to this every couple months or whenever you're putting on these events, or is it a one-time thing?
So right now, our goal is to allow people to come back after 12 months. And the only reason that we have some timeline in there is so that other people can experience what it is. As far as coming back, right now we just have the camps. We want the camp to be the starting point. So what we're putting together right now is a virtual model as well, where each month we want to have a check-in for our alumni. So what that means is virtually every month you're going to be able to check in. We're going to have a Zoom program set up, and each month there will be 1 hour, and it's going to be some module of training on mental health. So January might be a resilience module, February might be a breathwork module, March may be moral injury. And each one of those modules, it's just going to be, hey, for the first 15 minutes, it's going to be check-in. How are the alumni doing? How are you doing? How is life? The next 30 minutes will be just like a block of instruction. We're going to go over some resources, maybe we'll do some exercises, and then the last 10 or 15 minutes would just be to check in and, do you have any questions on what we did? We want them to be able to come back as they need. Some of the modules may not resonate with you. Maybe 2 times a year you want to check in, or maybe you want to be at all of them. And then another thing, we're trying to work with X Golf to put together some type of indoor one-day camps in the winters, once or twice a year. I've been trying to work with their CEO, Ryan. I met him about a week ago. We're still trying to figure what that looks like, but basically you can only golf here 5-6 months out of the year. So what we want to do is in the winter, you would come to X Golf, one of the locations, for maybe an hour and a half. We'll do lessons from that pro that runs that establishment. Then we'll do 18 holes with the group, having just some camaraderie, and then afterwards we'll do about an hour exercise. So, and that would all be taken care of, covered by the organization, so the alumni just has to show up. We want it to be a long-term support network and a place that our alumni can come back. And with our outings, we have one June 1st. It'll be our first outing this year at Western Lakes out in Pewaukee. In perpetuity, alumni will be able to come to our outings at a reduced rate. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You touched on something there that I just wanted to bring up, because I just had lunch with another veteran, and one of the things that we talked about was there's nothing like the camaraderie that you have with another veteran, because you know the same experiences you've been through and stuff like that before. Can you talk a little bit about how your organization helps with the camaraderie? Because I'm sure you've seen some veterans go through your program, or first responders, that it's helped change their life in that aspect of camaraderie, because I know for me as a veteran, it helps to be able to engage with other veterans who you can pretty much say whatever you want, you know, and you're not going to get offended.
Right, yeah.
Can you talk about how that's helped some people in your program?
Sometimes I think that's the most important portion. The resources are great, the golf is great, but a lot of times, like for myself, I was in Germany for almost 4.5 years. The bulk of my time in the military was spent with the 173rd in Germany. When you leave and you ETS and you come back to Wisconsin, I think the closest person from my troop right now is like 3 states away. Wow. So you lose this team, right? You lose this network, and now you're wearing a different hat. You're just Matt living in Wisconsin, and you have no support structure. And I think oftentimes, both from what I've witnessed with my education, with my internship and everything, and just life, we start to close off. Some of us have deeper demons that we're dealing with than others, but I think by and large, it eats at you. For any number of reasons, it eats at you, and before you know it, you don't want to ask for help. You're afraid to talk to your spouses or your civilian network just because they don't get it. And you don't want to have that conversation of, this is what I went through, to explain to them, because it's triggering. But when we get the participants in the camp, and it's funny because we've had 2 now. We had the 2 proof of concepts, and the same thing happened. Day 1, you got 10 and 11 participants, like, what did I sign up for? Why am I here? And I did it. I did it when I went to Semper Fi, because I'm around veterans that are missing limbs, that are really suffering from some stuff that when you look, you're like, I shouldn't be here. My traumas do not compare to this. I'm not worthy of this, right? You're really invalidating yourself. And sure enough, one of them in the group always is the one I think that is like ready to share, and they share a little too soon, but that's great, because I open up about my stuff, and you see that and you're like, holy crap, I'm not the only one that's dealing with this thing. And little by little, and then they start golfing. The 18 holes every day is in a scramble format. So what that means is we all hit our balls, but then we pick the best ball and we all go to that ball. So 98% of that round, you're together, and the 2 carts are right next to each other, and all 4 of them are engaged. And then we rotate the groups, so that by the end of the camp, you will have played with everyone in your group. You're all on the driving range together. So literally this entire camp, you are together, almost 95% of it, like in a group. And there's this trajectory throughout the course of the camp, and before you know it, like on the last day, they're all hugging each other, they're all exchanging phone numbers, and now some of them are in our league. They're connecting. It's a support system. It's enabling you to have a team again. And the really cool part is when you start seeing, we had 4 firefighters come to our first 2 camps, and one of them comes up to me in group, and the first thing he said was, I'm not a vet. And he came up to me at the end of that day, and he said the guys in his group who were all vets, when they all went out to golf, said, it doesn't matter. You deal with the same stuff that we deal with, just on a different battlefield. Mm-hmm. So you're bridging the gap between two communities, and I think that's the most amazing thing.
Yeah, and I that's a really good point, because I don't think a lot of people understand what first responders go through either. They're out there in the streets every single day. They get a call. They don't know what they're walking into, when they're taking those calls.
Yeah, I've learned so much about that community, because I'm doing an internship right now in Wauwatosa with a group of veteran doctors. It's underneath Aurora. It's like called Veteran Track, but they also teach they treat first responders. And EMTs, I believe, have like the highest rate of suicide among all like first responders and veterans. And one thing I'm learning is about moral injury. And I try to tell people now when they ask like what the difference is between like first responders and vets, and I went to Afghanistan. I was there for 9 months. I left. I'll probably never go back. So I don't have the physical stressors. I might have emotional stuff that I deal with, but I'll never be back there. If you're a EMT person, and let's say you're in Milwaukee and you live in Milwaukee and you have to drive every day, and you drive by where 3 weeks ago a 5-year-old got run over by a car, you have to see that. You have to deal with that. The helplessness of the person, the child's dead already. You can't do anything. But now you're an EMT in Milwaukee for the next 10 years and you drive by the same place just as a civilian when you're not working. Like the damage that does to people. And I didn't realize it. I didn't have any clue that existed for them until I started like paying attention to, there are a lot of commonalities here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's super cool that they're part of this organization with you.
Yeah.
So what's your plan with Next 18? Where do you see Next 18 going, in the next few years, next 3 to 5 years? What's sort of your goals moving forward with the organization?
I think the next 3 to 5 years is get to the point where we have a really good ground, a base established. Again, with the weather here, it's hard to have camps year round. That's just not a possibility. We've already started looking at having camps in the South, like Florida, Texas, California, Arizona, even like Virginia, where the climate lasts a little bit longer for us and the seasons are a little longer. I think as a group with my board and my advisory committee, we see the potential to have a national organization where we're running 20 to 30 camps a year. That's going to take a lot of development because I physically can't run 20 to 30 camps a year.
Sure.
There is a lot of mental toll on my side and physical and emotional from having to I literally have to relive my traumas every time we have these camps because I kind of have to act as a guide. It's tough. And then the emotional dump that I take after a camp. The first 2 camps we did camp, week off, camp. By the end of camp 2, that Friday when I went out with my girlfriend to dinner, I could barely talk at dinner. And the emotions were coming out of I did this thing happened, and the lives that I've just affected. So identifying if you come to the camp and you really love it and you want to be a force multiplier, right? Let's train you how to do it. You'll ride a couple camps with me, get the feel, and then maybe we start putting you in charge of 2 of them and getting a network across the country so that we can do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So if I'm a veteran, what's the best way to get involved, come to one of these events and be a part of it?
So right now you can go online, next18.org, next18.org. We have our website built out where we just listed our 4 camps for 2022. You can go on and apply there under the camps or the apply section. Social media, we're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm pretty diligent about posting all the time, but I would say just go to the website. If you need more information, there's ample signage on there to contact us. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Obviously, being a nonprofit,
Yeah.
you got to raise funds and stuff like that. So how can people, what sort of things are you looking for? Donations or time or a course to play on or funds to fund some of these events. How can those people get a hold of you, and what sort of things are you looking for?
All of that. All of that. I think the hardest thing for me with this whole process has been learning how to ask for help. It's just not something I've ever done in the past. That veteran mentality, I can do everything on my own. Help with funding will always be an issue for a nonprofit, but there are things that people can do. There's a gentleman out in Pewaukee area, the Legends, Jack Gaudian. he does really amazing things every year on Veterans Day and Memorial Day. The courses are open to vets to play free of charge. One of my board members, Jesse, is a member there, and we're trying to figure out what does it look like. A course could very easily come in and say, hey, we can donate what you need, because at the end of the day, 90% of our time on a course is actually spent on the driving range. Our mental health providers come there, they give their modules there, the lessons are there. The only actual value or money that we would take from a course would be access to tee times. And for our camps, we're only doing 9 to 12 people, so 3 tee times max. So you could do 10, 10, 10, 10, 20, and we're gone. I stay with the groups, I make sure that their pace of play so that we're not interfering with the course management. But to get an organization or a course to understand, like, outside of the box thinking, how can this benefit us? We're set up on the driving range, we have our signs, we have, Fire Ridge, people were coming up and scanning our QR code. What is this? They wanted to know. If you've got a place like Kohler, Erin Hills, or Whistling Straits, or Sand Valley, people from all over the world play these courses. The optics for you as a course are 400 people a day are coming through Sand Valley, so that's 1,600 people that have the potential on the driving range to see that you're giving back to mental health and vets and first responders. If people have multiple sets of golf bags in their basement, full sets and a bag, we'll take those. We can give you a tax write-off for that. We then give those to vets, to our participants, the vets and the first responders. There's so many different ways that people can help. We're getting ready to go live next week with the outing, June 1st. Whole sponsorships, sponsoring the outing, or if an organization wants to sponsor a camp, we have the models in place to explain that and go over pricing for that stuff. But there's so many different ways.
Oh, that's great to hear, man. So we'll post all your information
Sure.
on the website here too. But any other events? You're doing a golf outing, but is there any other events that you're going to do throughout the year that people can come out and support?
So the one other thing that we're doing that we just did this year is the Indoor Golf League, and it was really cool. We were partnered with another organization, another veteran-owned nonprofit, We Black, We Golf. Richard started this, I think maybe 18 months ago, and it's geared towards getting people of color involved in maybe areas that may not have the access historically to golf, and just getting them connected. And I think he's got 1,400 or 1,500 members now across the country. But the two of us partnered up, we got people involved, and I think we had 13 teams this year participate. We do it at 3 indoor simulators. Next year we're probably going to move down to Kenosha if Madison has a location. So maybe we'll have 30 or 40 teams. That's a good way to get involved. Every team that signs up, we get a portion of those proceeds, so we're able to fund our organization through that too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time today, Matt.
Thank you.
Appreciate
I really appreciate taking the time too.
If you support military veterans, military spouses, veteran-owned businesses, and veteran nonprofits, hit the subscribe button below and hit the bell to get alerts on new content coming out. We appreciate your support. If you know of any patriots doing great things in business and community that we should interview, please let us know in the comment section below. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode of VetBizTV.